way, I'm wearing my college football shirt because college football started, and we're going to be talking about college football for just a few seconds. But first, before we get into the meat of this video, so Joe Biden has been touring some of the disaster zones from Hurricane Ida. He was in New Jersey, New York, and this is how the visits are going according to Mr. President.
None of them were shouting or complaining. Every one of them were thanking me as if it was something special. I mean it sincerely, that I was here.
Meanwhile, according to the New York Post, Biden gets hostile welcome in New Jersey touring damage caused by Hurricane Ida. Here's some of the footage.
He ain't gonna do shit. Leave fucking ruins and leave Americans behind. Shit. Leave Americans behind. That's fucking crazy. He will leave you behind. You guys protecting him. Leave you guys behind. That's crazy.
And that wasn't even it. There were utility workers in Louisiana when his motorcade went by on the highway, and they all turned their back on him in protest. Here's that video. And that wasn't it either. Over the weekend, 4 university football games, Texas A&M, Auburn University, Virginia Tech, Carolina Coastal, I think that's the fourth one. 4 college games had the entire stadiums almost chanting F Joe Biden, and here's some of the footage from that. Wasn't it either. Remember when Kamala Harris visited Guatemala a few months back, and she was met with a bunch of Trump signs, people protesting, people not wanting her there. Even the people in Guatemala were like, why are you here? Why aren't you at your own southern border? They don't even like this administration. But let's look into what happened in New Jersey, because it wasn't just that man who was yelling out. But the man that did, he said this. So it says, in Manville, New Jersey, a man interrupted Biden's message by shouting, "Resign, you tyrant," as he toured a devastated neighborhood. The heckler stood in his yard with a campaign flag for former President Donald Trump. Reporters positioned between Biden and the man said Biden did not react to the taunts. Other pro-Trump protesters had greeted Biden's motorcade along its route through New Jersey. Multiple protesters were photographed giving the president a middle finger as he drove through the Hillsborough Township. It says one person held a protest banner that said, "F Biden and F you for voting for him." Another sign said, "Biden, go back to the basement." If it just got a little bit darker in here, I had to turn my camera off. It started storming like crazy. And the sky is black now, so that's why. But for the most popular president ever, 81 million votes, you would think that he would get just a bit more love than that. But the nail in the coffin, I think, really for Biden was our disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan and the fact that we still have Americans that are stuck in Afghanistan. So let's continue with his visit to New Jersey. It says, but Biden's trip also contained confusing moments, including when the president said the word tornado was antiquated. He said that we used to call it tornadoes. I don't know what we call it now. He literally said, looks like a tornado. They don't call them that anymore. that hit the crops and wetlands in the middle of the country. He also said that Nevada had wetlands. I don't know about you, I didn't think they had wetlands, but if they do, please let me know in the comments. It then said he turned to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and said, I want to thank her personally for her gumption, the way she's fought and hollered and fought so hard for all the people in this alley. Then went on to talk more about climate change, and this is no secret to any of us. We've known for a while that this is going to be their next frontier of things that they use. And no one is saying that the climate change does not exist, but it's the extent at which they try to fearmonger for it. And in my personal opinion, I believe that they do that so they can get Americans on board with some of these massive spending bills and this redistribution of money and how we live our lives. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, even one of her staffers admitted that when she was coming up with the Green New Deal, which was what Biden was praising her for, it had nothing to do in climate. In fact, it was about reorganizing the economy into a more socialist sort of economy. I want to read you this little part in an article I found in Forbes magazine. And the reason I was reading Forbes magazine are because the economic cost of our natural disasters are more. So does that mean that we're having more natural disasters? Is that attributed to climate change? And I thought this was really interesting. I'll link to the article below, and it links to the actual study. And it says, in a review of 54 studies over the last 22 years and published in the field's leading scientific journal, scientists finds that little evidence to support claims that any part of the overall increase in global economic losses documented on climate timescales attributes to human-caused changes in climate. In other words, hurricanes, floods, and other natural disasters aren't getting worse, they're getting better, much better. There has been a 92% decline in the death toll from natural disasters since its peak in the 1920s, according to the International Disaster Database. In that decade, 5.4 million people died from natural disasters. In the 2010s, 400,000 did. And I am not saying that climate change does not exist and we should all be doing what we can, obviously, being conscious about the environment. And I'm clearly not a scientist, but I do sort of see through when they use natural disasters or even things like Gavin Newsom using our forest fires to push the climate change agenda and to fearmonger people. And a lot of times it has to do with getting people on board with some of these big spending bills than it actually does about the facts and data behind climate change. I am really interested to see how Biden is going to be welcomed in California, because we talked about this just the other day. Apparently he is coming to California to help campaign for Gavin Newsom because priorities. But I'm wondering if he's going to have the same type of reception. That will be very interesting. Let me know what you guys think about everything. Have a fabulous day. I think the storm is ending over here, and I'll see you later. Bye.